Welcome to the Holistic Accountant Podcast. This is where we cut through conventional accounting and show you how a genuinely holistic approach drives better after-tax outcomes. It's not about ticking boxes or churning out tax returns. It's about strategic advice that builds lasting wealth. If you find this episode valuable, leave a rating and share it with someone who will benefit. Okay, today we want to talk about or share some insights from successful entrepreneurs. I really love to listen to people that have traveled the road that I want to travel. So someone that's built a fantastic business, what did they learn? And I think that there's, I put a lot of value on longevity as well. So, someone that has lucked into a great business might be super smart and work super hard, but luck can have a bit to do with it as well. But someone that's been an entrepreneur, for many decades, has gone through, different cycles, different challenges, all these sorts of things. I'm really interested to, their reflections on what they've learned. And there's a channel called School of Hard Knocks where this young guy goes around and interviews different people, that have built successful businesses. Well, at least that's what it seems. Of course, you can never believe everything that's on social media. Anyway, he's amassed about sort of 10 million followers, across the platforms. He's on Instagram, X, YouTube, and so on. And he's done more than 500 interviews. And so what I wanted to talk about today is what are the sort of 5 insights or top lessons from these entrepreneurs that we can learn from and that we can apply to our businesses. And, it's in the context of the last couple of episodes where we've spoken about some learnings from Vern Harnish. Again, the last week's episode was the sort of 5 questions, which is kind of a quasi business plan to try and, focus on, what is the 1 or 2 priorities in your business. And today we'll talk about these lessons, and it's all culminating towards the end of this is the, we'll do a best of episodes throughout the holiday period, but this is the last key episode this year. And we hope this month's episodes will help you through your business planning and your reflection time over that sort of holiday period. So let's get into it, Mena.
So the first one and the most common theme is around persistence, hard work, and being consistent in what you do. And it's the most frequent theme emphasized in a lot of these interviews for a lot of the entrepreneurs. They never quit, they all gave up. Even after repeated failures, they got up and had another crack at it. One entrepreneur was rejected 617 times apparently in his first year, but persisted to build the world's largest water park. Now that's almost 2 times a day he was rejected. But he showed up every day and treated business like a game of doubles. So focusing on small, consistent wins to scale. So how do I make $10,000 reach $100,000 in a certain period of time? Now, success is 95% perspiration and 5% luck, which what Stuart alluded to before. But keep trying and be disciplined. You got to be consistent in what you do and keep motivated. It's very easy to get disheartened every time you get rejected or fail. But when you pick yourself up and work hard without being lazy, it helps you build momentum and get to where you want to get to.
The second most common insight, and kind of related to the first one as well, is learn from failure and take calculated risks. I think one of the biggest differences in culture, well, there's a lot of cultural differences between the US and Australia, but in the US, I think failure in entrepreneurism is embraced much more than it is in Australia. So if you're in the US and you have a business failure, people's idea mostly is, oh, good on you, you had a go, and, the next one will be probably a success and so on. Whereas in Australia, we've got a bit of a tall poppy syndrome, that if you've had a business failure, a lot of the cultures sort of, oh, well, we're glad you didn't succeed because, you shouldn't be trying in the first place. So I think it's a cultural thing, but, I think one of the key things is that there's always going to be failures. So of the people that have interviewed, they've lost a lot of money, they've had businesses that have gone bust or these sorts of things, but they've, learned from those failures, got back on the horse and continue to take calculated risks. And I think the calculated risk bit is a key one here. So it's not just, doing anything or taking really high and dumb risks, but it's really just realizing that you're going to fail along the way. And then any successful business person, I'd almost guarantee, has lost money, has done something stupid, has had a failed business or whatever, and it's just a process and a learning experience.
The next big item was around investing and building assets outside your business. Now, as entrepreneurs, we tend to focus on our business and double down in our business, which is not a bad thing to do, but sometimes it's really good to spread your eggs. I know we've mentioned this in a previous podcast, but it's really important to focus on what you're trying to do from a wealth perspective. Buy real estate as a core strategy. Start and then use income to buy generating assets. We don't want to waste liabilities or cash on things like cars or watches and the like. It's very easy to get distracted as entrepreneurs as the cash comes in, especially since you likely would have worked very hard at the start to get the business up and running. But it's really important to get those income generating assets, so then at one point in time you can sort of spend it on luxurious goods. Invest in things such as bonds, real estate, as I mentioned before, ETFs. Get yourself advice. You can't be a sort of a jack of all trades, master of none sort of thing. It's really important to get financial advice so that you can put your investments into the right things.
The next, number 4 is build strong networks and seek out mentors. It's something certainly that I've experienced over the last 20 years as well. It's so surprising. A lot of people think, if you go and ask your competitor for some insights or help or how did you tackle this, a lot of people think, well, they're not going to tell me because we're competitors. But that's almost always wrong. There will be some selfish people out there that won't help, but for most people, if someone rang me up that was in the financial services space and said, look, I appreciate your business, you've been in business for a long time, I just want to talk about these 2 things, most people are going to do it. They're keen to kind of share and lift people up. So you've got to build networks around you. Who are the people that have built the business or build a business that you respect, either in your industry or in a aligned or comparable industry, and go out and meet them and build that network and start talking to the people and sharing ideas. Getting a mentor is also well worthwhile. Again, someone that you can respect, that you can again bounce ideas off, either in a formal sort of quarterly meetings or on an informal basis. And also surround yourself with people that are in business that are sort of again traveling the road that you want to travel. One thing that I recognized about sort of 10, 15 years ago is a lot of my friendship group weren't business owners. And so I went and joined an organization called Entrepreneurs Organization. I was a member there for 2 or 3 years. And the benefit of that was that you got to, speak and collaborate with people that are dealing with similar challenges. Clients, staff is always a challenge, these sorts of things. But building that network around you and that community is what's going to help you in terms of then feel supported and directed. And remember, you're not looking for advice, you're looking for shared experiences, because advice, most people don't want to be advised or told exactly what to do in their business, but it's really what you want to lean on is other people's experience, because someone will have an experience and learn something from it, and then someone will share that experience with someone else and they'll learn something completely different, because we're all coming from completely different backgrounds and we've got different business challenges as well. So that's what you want to do, is open yourself up to as many experiences as possible, and you can do that building out your network.
And the last thing is around loving what you do. Now, we've done a podcast recently around how do you determine success, or what measures success outside of monetary sort of factors. So it's really important for you to pursue what your heart leads you to do and what you love to do, because that's really what's going to drive your business even further. Because your business can be quite successful, but you just could hate being there for one, or hate what you do, or just putting in a ridiculous amount of hours. Whereas if you actually love what you do, your mindset constantly shifts and you'll really want to go into work and succeed. So value your time over money. Live one life and enjoy every minute. One billionaire said he will trade all his wealth for 10 more years. So that guy was spent a lot of time in his business, so he didn't get to enjoy life. So learn more to earn more, to give more, to live and give rewards more. That's really what it comes down to.
I think that's spot on, Mena, and kind of one of the reasons why we wanted to put these podcasts together, because hopefully what we're going to do is share information, practical information, help you sort of grow your business and make sure it thrives and succeeds well into the future, but also it's still giving you a good work-life balance, because that's the issue, I think, with a lot of small business, is that it's all encompassing, all consuming. But what you really want to do is build a business with a really strong purpose. That's not just always about profit, but a purpose, but something that is sustainable without necessarily, 80 hours a week of input from yourself. Okay, so that sort of wraps up this year's podcasting. So we really appreciate you listening in each week. We appreciate you sharing the podcast wherever you can. Over the next 4 weeks, we're going to share a best of, the top or most popular podcasts for 2025. So we're going to replay them with a bit of an intro. And if you missed any throughout the year, at least it's a good opportunity to pick them up, or at least remind you, re-listen to them. And we look forward to joining you back in 2026 and share more great insights to help with your business. But thank you so much for listening in.